Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mike Norvell, Florida State, have had one of the more busy off seasons that you see across the country. Now, with the spring portal winding down, with spring practice wrapping up, let's take a step back and talk about the five most important new faces that are coming into this program. This was an impossible list to come up with because there's a lot of new faces coming into this program. Picking just five was very difficult. I want to start with this. I think the most important new faces that are coming into this program, probably the coaching staff. I'm very adamant that if Mike Norvell is going to make it work at Florida State, he's got to hit with the coaching hires that he made during the offseason, because you look at really what fell apart for Florida State. They weren't recruiting the right way. They were dreadful in developing the high school talent. If Mike Norvell is going to make it work long term at Florida State, this coaching staff has to be significantly better than what it was in the 2024 year. So that's where it starts. From a personnel standpoint, who are the most important faces coming into this program? Before we get into it, as always, to the Florida State fans, y'all let it fly in the comments section. I am sure that many Florida State fans have certain faces or certain players that you would have on this list that maybe I didn't include. Would love to hear from you guys in the comments section. And to the Florida State fans, just want to say thank you. It's been busy the last couple of weeks and months, and a lot of support that y'all have shown the fellas. We appreciate it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it now. Number one, it probably a surprise to a lot of Florida State fans, but I'm going to go with the center from Wake Forest, Luke Pedabomb. Now, why is it Luke and not Thomas Castellanos? We're going to talk about Thomas Castellanos coming up. I look at Florida State and say, how does this thing come together in 2025? To me, it starts with the offensive line. And then I look at the offensive line and say, what needs to happen with this unit to be good in 2025? I think the personnel is pretty dang good. I mean, they brought in some veteran guys that have shown they're good power four offensive linemen. A couple tackles coming from the SEC. You have Adrian Medley following Herb Hand and Gus Malzahn over. The personnel's there. What my bigger concern is it going to come together as a unit? That offensive line position, it's important to play together as a unit, just as important as it is to have good players on the offensive line. Who's going to be the guy that brings it all together? Give me the Wake Forest center, Luke Pedabomb, who, from what we heard out of spring, is probably the best offensive lineman on this football team, a guy that is very experienced coming over from Wake Forest. 900 pass pro opportunities for Luke Pedabomb during his career at Wake Forest. He gave up 8 quarterback hurries his whole entire career. This kid is nails in pass protection. He's one of the more intelligent centers that you're going to see across the country. You talk about a brand new offense with a new offensive coordinator, with a new quarterback, with new offensive linemen. Who's going to make the calls up front? Who's going to make sure this 5-man unit's on the same page? Give me Luke Pedabomb. The last thing I'll know with Luke, and I was going back, and many of y'all know I'm a Wake Forest alum, so I've watched a decent amount of this kid over the years. He's not the biggest offensive lineman. He's surrounded by a lot of giant human beings, but he's not the biggest. Really good leverage, really good climbing to the second level. He's actually much better in the run game than you would assume for a guy that's only 295 pounds. Give me Luke Pedabomb being the most important new face coming into this program. Number 2, Tommy Castellanos. Now, here's my take on Thomas Castellanos. I'm not going to get up here and say he's going to be a top 10 NFL draft pick. I think a lot of Florida State fans understand that as well. He was handpicked by Gus Malzahn and Mike Norvell to run this new offense that they're going to run in 2025. Thomas Castellanos, when you build the offense around him the right way and use him the right way, is a quarterback that's going to put tremendous stress on every opposing defense he plays. He's very tricky to bring down in the pocket. He's extremely creative getting outside of the pocket. You obviously can incorporate his legs in the run game. They picked him for a reason. When you go back to DJU last year, we got so fascinated with the size and the arm strength and the potential that DJU had. At the end of the day, it was a really bad fit Like what Mike Norvell wanted to do on offense, it just wasn't working with DJU. You have a quarterback that doesn't have the NFL upside as some other quarterbacks in the ACC or across the country, but a quarterback that if you build the offense around this kid and ask him to utilize the special gifts that he has as a quarterback, I think can be an effective quarterback. Now, is he going to be a consistent enough passer? That's probably the storyline heading in. This is a guy that I think Gus and Mike Norvell have a lot of confidence in going into the 2025 year. Number 3 on the list, going to go to a freshman new face, and that's going to be Kevin Wynn. Now, is Kevin Wynn going to start for Florida State? No, probably not, right? Daryl Jackson probably going to play that nose tackle position. So why is Kevin Wynn one of the most important new faces coming into this program? To me, it's because you don't have that many nose tackle bodies. You're going to need this kid to play as a freshman. And again, even though it's not being as a starter, he's going to have to play as a rotational piece. That nose tackle position is crucial in terms of what Tony White wants to do on defense. It's not because Kevin Wynn's going to be going for 10 sacks and 15 tackles for a loss, but you talk about eating up double teams, allowing your second level defenders to fly downhill and swarm to the football, how Tony White wants it to be. This only works if you have defensive linemen winning at the point of attack, specifically your nose tackles. This kid was built in a laboratory to play nose tackle in the Tony White defense. You know, he's 6'2", he's 320 plus. He's built like a fire hydrant, extremely strong, powerful kid. I think he can play. It was kind of a quiet spring practice for Kevin Wynn. He's outside of Daryl Jackson, he's really the only other true nose tackle body that Florida State has. You might see KJ Sampson play a little bit there. You might see Daniel Lyons play a little bit there. But in terms of true noses, Kevin Wynn's one of the only ones. Need him to be ready to go as a freshman in this Tony White defense. Number 4 on the list, give me Deuce Robinson coming from USC. Why Deuce Robinson at number 4? One, because he's one of, if not the most talented football players on this team. More notably, Gus Malzahn needs a big body that can threaten down the field. Like that is how this offense works. We want to run the football. We want to go play action. We want to take our shots down the field. Who's going to emerge as the pass catcher that can win vertically down the field? To me, it's Deuce Robinson. I mean, he is 6'6", he's 220 plus, tremendous coordination, tremendous physicality at the catch point. Can he be that guy? You look at the former UCF offenses. You know, whether it was Kobe Hudson last year, whether it was a guy like Javon Baker, when UCF was running on offense, they had that vertical pass catching threat that was averaging around 20 yards per catch. Can Deuce Robinson be that true wide receiver 1 that is crucial for what Gus Malzahn wants to do? While we're talking about wide receivers, Javon Boggs is probably a guy that we have to mention. He very well might be the wide receiver 3 for this Florida State team. You know, you have confidence in Deuce. You have confidence in Squirrel White, kind of trying to find that third pass catcher in this 3 wide receiver set. It might be Javon Boggs, and he is a guy that I think's ready to play as a freshman. Last one I want to talk about, the running back position. I'm going to basically cheat and say Gavin Sashuk / Usman Cremoa, excuse me. We need to find a running back 1. I think that's part of the reason Florida State went out and got Gavin Sashuk, and I will maintain that, yes, it was a dip in performance from Gavin in 2024 at Oklahoma. This kid has shown us that he can be a running back 1 at the Power 4 level because he was that guy in the back half of 2023 for Oklahoma. Home run hitting ability, the ability to run between your tackles and run with low pads and be kind of a gritty running back. I don't think we had a running back 1 emerge for Florida State during spring practice. I think that's why they went out and got Gavin Sashuk. I think they're and again, very similar to how we talked about Deuce being that very important big body boundary wide receiver that's working vertically. Well, we need that running back 1. Like Gus Malzahn wants to ride a dude for the 2025 season. Who's that going to be? Is it going to be Gavin Sashuk? Is it going to be true freshman Usman? We'll see. But one of those names has to emerge in fall camp, and I think it's going to be some of the new faces that are coming into this program in the summer. A lot of names that you could go to. I think James Williams, like Jeremiah Wilson, how about? You know, he's probably one of the best players that Florida State added in the portal. I don't I think Florida State's pretty dang good in the secondary, or at least should be solid. So I don't know if he's the most important new face coming in. Certainly makes Florida State better. I think James Williams coming off the edge could be a really important piece of the Tony White defense. You could look at the tackles, Micah Pettis, Gunnar Hansen. These are my 5. Would love to hear your 5 in the comments section. And again, I don't think any of this matters if you don't hit on your coaching staff. And I was a big fan of the hires. And I think if Mike Norvell is going to make this work, this coaching staff has to hit. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.